A quadcopter dropped out of the sunrise like some nosy hummingbird, just hovered over my deck, and then, out of nowhere, it zipped right through the stream of my pressure washer. I'm talking a full wet pirouette, clipped the edge of my brand new stainless grill, then just face-planted into my hydrangeas with this sad little whine, like a kid's RC car running out of juice. I stood there, hose still running in my hand, watching this twitchy, soaking wet drone spasming among the flowers, looking about as dignified as a bug in a puddle. And right then, I knew my week was about to get real interesting. Not 10 minutes later, here comes this woman up my driveway. Hot pink visor, stride like she's storming a castle, and two clipboard-carrying sidekicks trailing behind her like nervous ducklings. She plants herself at the very edge of my property, pokes out her chest, and fires off, loud enough for half the street to hear. "Congratulations, you just shot down HOA security property." She even says it like she's handing me a medal. I lower my pressure washer and try to keep my voice from cracking. "Congratulations, you just filmed my bathroom skylight without permission." Name's Julian Park, by the way, 42, software consultant, work from home, garden in the afternoons, pretty much live under the radar here in Cedar Hollow. You know the place, where every mailbox is regulation beige, the sunsets smell like fertilizer, and stepping out of line gets you the kind of swift consequences that'd make a kindergarten teacher blush. Most days, I keep to myself, read books about people who don't live in HOAs, try not to rile up anybody. You get the idea. But then there's Denise Crowley, the so-called queen of this kingdom. HOA board president, collector of visors. I swear, at least a dozen. And the sort of person who honestly believes binoculars are a personality trait. She'd already fined me twice before today, once for a wind chime that, apparently, played in a non-compliant key. That's an actual phrase in the HOA handbook, and once for a basil planter out front, which violated some obscure subsection about unauthorized agriculture. But this drone thing, oh, this was next level. Denise called it airborne compliance monitoring in the newsletter, which, trust me, you can't opt out of. The flyers bragged about these anonymized community flyovers, supposedly to protect our property values, keep us safe, yada yada. Sounds almost noble, right? Except that drone was out at weird hours, peeking over fences, hovering over backyard pools, and staring right through second-story windows like it was auditioning for a tinfoil hat convention. Then the mailbox started serving up these printouts, not friendly notes, not reminders, but literal surveillance photos. One was a grainy zoom-in on my recycling bin, with a red circle around the lid, just barely cracked open. Caption: violation, lid ajar, fine pending. Another, me, barefoot, watering tomato plants at 6 a.m., labeled front yard agriculture, unapproved vegetation. Barefoot, like that's something the security committee's tracking. By then, rumors were blooming faster than dandelions. Paula next door whispered that the drone caught her dog sunbathing without the proper permit. Somebody else got a warning for unauthorized shelving in their shed, which, don't ask me, supposedly broke some regulation about matching storage. Someone else mentioned a nuisance tracker, a digital spreadsheet with timestamps of people taking out the trash at odd hours, parking a little crooked, just existing in a way Denise didn't like. Honestly, it started feeling like some dystopian sitcom. Our local dictator didn't wear medals. She wore a pink visor and drove a luxury SUV with HOA boss on the plates. Then, one day, knock on my door. It's Denise, holding an official-looking letter with the HOA's fancy seal. Notice of destruction of HOA property. She's demanding $1,200 for what she calls hostile engagement with an unmanned compliance craft. That's a drone for the rest of us. She's standing on my porch, visor shining, voice smug as you please. "We'll see you in court, Mr. Park." I just stared at her, tried not to blink, and said, "Bring your flight logs." Let me tell you, being a quiet guy has its perks. I don't do jet skis, don't collect boats, but I do keep a little just-in-case fund for emergencies. That's how I hired Marcus Chun, local attorney, property rights and privacy law specialist. The moment he heard drone, his eyes practically lit up. Discovery started, and suddenly Denise was all about delays, missing documents, unavailable drone operators, every excuse in the book. Marcus, though, he smelled blood. And here's where the universe tossed me a bone. The drone company Denise used? Their cloud storage folder was set to public by accident. Anyone with the link could see everything. Paula, the same neighbor who'd complained about dog permits, found footage of her 8-year-old doing cannonballs in their backyard pool, his face plain as day. She sent me the link, and what I saw, well, it was a goldmine for my case, a horror show for everyone else. Hundreds of clips, backyard dinners, folks in bathrobes by the window, private conversations out on patios, kids in sprinklers, families at the grill. The file names were even more damning. Lot 42 after 10 p.m., East Alley trash lid violation, south fence, unapproved paint color. But the smoking gun was an email chain. Denise telling the drone operator, increase altitude, they're noticing us, get roof angles, need proof those solar panels aren't regulation color. Another, focus on the properties that voted against me last board election. Can you believe that? Marcus handed everything off to code enforcement, who brought in the state privacy office. Since Denise loved dropping FAA regulations in her threats, Marcus looped in the real FAA too. Suddenly, it wasn't just a little civil spat. Our sleepy suburb had the full attention of multiple government agencies. Court day rolled around. I figured it'd be the usual. Denise with a suitcase of bylaws, the neighbors glancing at their shoes, a judge just wanting lunch. But nope, the judge walked in frowning. He'd read every word of the filings, and he looked ready for war. Marcus played a highlight reel from the drone's best of collection. Kids running through sprinklers, women in bathrobes, a couple trying to have a private dinner, all caught on camera, faces plain as daylight. You could feel the chill in the courtroom, like someone had opened a freezer door. Denise tried to save face, stood up, visor still on, voice shaking but stubborn. Your Honor, these were all filmed from public vantage points. We're within our rights to monitor community standards. That's when the FAA rep, a no-nonsense woman in a sharp suit, spoke up. Ma'am, did your operator have a Part 107 certificate for commercial drone operations? Any community-based approvals filed? Silence. Denise's face lost all its color. Code enforcement jumped in, too. By the way, those HOA security signs at the entrance? Totally fake. There is no police liaison. It's made up. The judge leaned forward, glasses off, tired. Were consent forms obtained for this surveillance? Denise's lawyer muttered, No, Your Honor. The whole HOA's counsel looked like he'd rather become a traffic cone than keep standing there. And then, the ruling. The judge says my pressure washer intercept, his words, on my own property, against a trespassing device, was completely lawful. The HOA's drone program? Not so much. He issued an injunction. All flights grounded, all footage deleted under third-party supervision. HOA sanctioned for unlawful surveillance, fake police ties, and his words, record-keeping that would embarrass a pirate ship. Denise, who dragged me to court for damages, had to stand there and listen while the judge ticked off everything the HOA owed me. New grill, garden repairs, full attorney's fees, and, just for good measure, a chunk of change for privacy invasion that made Denise visibly flinch. Then came the real kicker. The FAA handed her a formal notice of civil penalty for illegal drone ops. The drone itself? Seized, forfeited, and sent to public auction, with the proceeds covering HOA fines. Want to know where that drone ended up? The middle school robotics club bought it for $27 and a tray of brownies at a booster auction. They named it Boundaries. Now it flies only in the gym, with neon cones marking the approved flight zone. Karma, if you ask me. The judge still wasn't done. He ordered Denise Crowley removed from the board at an emergency meeting, banned from serving on any HOA board in the whole county for 7 years. She had to install new, legally vetted signs at every entrance, big letters, NO surveillance. Resident privacy respected. And she did it under the watchful eye of the same code officer who kept making her spell jurisdiction right. The HOA had to send apology letters to every resident, along with a hotline for anyone who wanted to file a claim about being filmed. My letter came 2 weeks later. 0 balance on my account and a coupon for a waived wind chime violation. Someone's idea of a peace offering, I guess. I framed both, hung them in my office for every Zoom call. Denise's face when she heard that 7-year ban, shock, outrage, maybe even a little heartbreak as her little kingdom slipped away, was worth every minute of stress. And you know what? Sometimes, standing your ground isn't about winning or losing. It's about reminding people that privacy, dignity, and a little peace in your own backyard are worth fighting for. So what do you think? Is it ever justified for an HOA or any group to trade away privacy in the name of order? Or does real justice mean drawing a line in the hydrangeas and saying enough? Drop your thoughts below. Share your own stories, your HOA nightmares, your victories, your what would you have done moments. I want to hear them all, because honestly, isn't that what community is supposed to be about?